Entertainment Network. Hit that like button, and as always, leave a comment, and thank you for enjoying the video.
Shot to right, slicing toward the pesky pole, down the line, and it's going to be out of here! Line down the right field line toward the pesky pole, leaping up, and that ball is gone! That's a home run! A lot of our Nesson team as well. High fly down the right field line, headed toward the pesky pole, that one tucked in, and that ball is going to be against the wall, and into second base. Number retired, and now Rafael Devers trying to retire that baseball inside the pesky pole.
Welcome to another episode of the Pesky Podcast. I'm your host, Ritt. With me, like always, is DOG George Sutherland. And with us, we have a very special guest who we always love to have on here. We have Mr. Joey Capponi. Joey, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Hey, not too much, guys. Thanks for having me on. I do appreciate it. Happy Oscar Sunday to you. I know you guys are rearing to go. I got a long list of all your Oscar predictions here. Peep the tie. I put on a tie for you guys. Yeah.
Oh, so, look at
that. That's
sweet. Very
sweet.
Excited to be here. Yeah, it's an 04. Look at this. This thing's actually pretty ridiculous.
Good stuff.
Yeah. So busting out for a special occasion. Thanks for having me, guys.
I sit there and feel like I'm underdressed now. I just went and put on our very own Hulkamania shirt, you know.
And I'm out of uniform, so.
Oh man, but Joey, man, I kind of feel bad for you in a way. Like last time when you were on, you know, you were clean shaved. You know, the hair looked, you know, a little more, you know,
good. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was trying. I'm like, I got to throw something out there. I couldn't, and I'm like, man, I'm like, does John Henry know what he's doing to you? Like, you have to go out and get all these beard products now, and you know, more shampoo and.
Yeah, it's a whole lifestyle change. More Drano, you know, the shower drain does its thing. It's a whole different lifestyle here. But I'll tell you, I think I might just be a long hair guy. As I've been going here, I don't know. I'm into self-sabotage. So once people started to be like, "Man, you look terrible," something in me is like, I got to keep it there. I don't know what that's all about. I'm sure that's something to unpack with a professional, but I think that's kind of my MO right now. I did say recently that because for those who don't know, this little bit I was calling Wildman Winter, still doing it, where I wasn't shaving my beard, cutting my hair until the Red Sox did something significant. This was before, or this was right after we got full throttle. We got the quote, full throttle. So I didn't expect it to be too long. And here we are, March 10th, my mother's birthday. And there is no sign of anything happening other than the fact that Jordan Montgomery has nowhere else to go. So he might end up here, but no matter where he signs, when he signs, I'm getting rid of it. I'm not keeping this the whole year. It would be ridiculous. So the hair is not here to stay.
So CJ Cron didn't do it for you, huh?
CJ Cron almost moved the needle for me because I heard a rumor that he was in the home run derby, and I was like, when was that? And had he been in the derby, had he been a derby participant, that's enough of a reason for me to cut it. But he alas, he was not. He considered it and did not do it. So,
maybe they thought him being out at Mile High kind of counted for home run derby out there.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Now all CJ Cron represents to me is blocking Bobby Dahlbeck from playing baseball in Boston, and that's a terrible thing in my eyes. So he's not really on my good list right now, CJ Cron.
Oh, well, hopefully this moved the needle a little bit for you. Let's talk, you know, the first big news that we've had for quite some time that was good out of the city of Boston. Brian Bayo extension, 7 years, $76 million. You know, he's going to be here till 2031. You know, let's start with you, George. What did you think about, you know, them making the extension? And it just so happened it was right before the DR trip down there. So, they got to parade him around like, hey, we're doing something nice.
Well, they won the PR war on that one. I mean, they timed it well. Look, Bayo was amenable to it. They've been talking around it for a good 3 weeks. I'm happy for him. He's, by all accounts, he's a really nice guy. If you watch any of the programming on for the Dominican weekend, you kind of get a real feel for where these guys are coming from, and this is going to set up his family. And he's, you feel really good for him. And it's finally, the Red Sox are moving in the right direction. That says that they're going to start signing, bringing up players, sign their younger ones so they don't disappear on them. If, like I said, you want to be successful, be like the Braves. So, I was very, very, very happy that all went down. So good for him.
Well, George, I'm kind of glad that you, said that, because I seen a great tirade from Joey, recently, right after this news broke, about how similar the Bayo contract was for a certain Braves pitcher. So, Joey, I'll let you take it from there.
Yeah, well, I think that got blown out of proportion. I think my words got taken out of context a little bit. And that's kind of what I was blowing up about, because everybody thought that I was saying something that I wasn't. And that just, it irks me a little bit. So it got me going. But I think my initial reaction, I mean, like everybody else, you see the words, Brian Bayo extended 7 years. That's exciting, right? You can't help but be amped up about it. And then for me, I took a step back and I really looked at it and I was like, oh, it's mainly just is ARB years. It's really 1 year of control, technically a second year of control with the team option for $21 million in 2030. Excuse me. But in realizing that, I was like, oh yeah, that's it's less exciting. And that was really my only reaction, was like, oh, okay, so this deal isn't in an attempt to lock up Bayo long term. It is to avoid arbitration and add 1 or 2 years of control. And that $21 million come 2030, who knows what that's worth? That could be, the price of a utility man in 6 years. Who knows? Mm-hmm. So a good value at its face, at least on the back end, because the beginning of this deal, they're probably going to pay a little bit more than they would have in his ARB years. But to give a player the peace of mind that they don't have to go through arbitration, and to push back that free agency a little bit, it shows some good faith. Hopefully, you don't know their motivations. Hopefully, it's coming from a place where they are learning from their past mistakes of not locking guys up, of having relationships with guys like Xander, who's a prime example, who you let get to a point where he never should have gotten, and that he does have to fight for himself and push for a contract that he should have been offered years prior. So hopefully it is a learning thing. But there is a possibility, and this is what I pointed out on Twitter that got people riled up. There is a possibility this is just an attempt to save a couple bucks in arbitration, which is not out of the realm of possibility with this ownership. That could very well be what it is. It's just to say, you know what? We bet that this guy is going to, be this good. We're going to give him a contract that pays him like this. And obviously, every team is trying to make a deal that's lucrative, that makes financial sense for them, obviously. But I thought it was worth pointing out, like, hey, while we're all celebrating here, it is just it is a reality where the team is just trying to save a couple of bucks in arbitration here, and that's not really something that's as exciting, which is where the Braves conversation came in, because then people started to say, like, well, Braves fans don't get this way when they do that with their players. And although the only other starting pitching comp to make is Spencer Strider, who got a similar deal, Riley Green with the Reds, similar deal. My rebuttal to that was like, well, yeah, Braves fans are not having that reaction because most of their extensions are to position players, and they are 10 years, 8 years, 9 years. Of course, they're not going to complain about that. That wouldn't make any sense. And I'm not complaining. I'm just saying, before we, say, oh, the Red Sox are turning it around, they're willing to spend. It's really avoiding arbitration, and it's gaining 1 or 2 years, which is a good thing. It's a step in the right direction. I hope their motivation is a good one and that they are learning and growing and all that. It's just not a guarantee, and it could just be an effort to save a couple of dollars.
And nothing precludes them from 4 years down the road looking and saying, okay, suddenly he's a Cy Young candidate or whatever. Them saying, all right, we're going to rip this up and we're going to, break out the treasure chest. And, I think you're right. It's a good faith deal all the way around. So,
Yeah, and I hope that is the case. Not only that he gets that kind of deal, but also that he proves that and that he does show that he is that caliber of player. I have faith in him. I hope the Red Sox do, and I hope that all of that comes true. Yeah,
just watching him, in the offseason work as hard as he does because he wants to prove himself. Pedro has all the faith in the world with him. He's, working with him left and right. Red Sox Nation, is he a number one starter right now? No. But we have faith and we believe he could be. So, why not give him, one less thing to worry about? Not like, you brought up Joey with Xander. Every day after the game, talking about contract. Bayo doesn't have to worry about that now. He can go out there, play baseball, have fun, and do what the Red Sox are paying him to do. And I'm really glad that it's one less thing he has to worry about. Now all he has to do is just worry about baseball. Right. And it again, my only pushback on it is, yes, for 1 year. For 1 year, 2 years. That's the only pushback. And I understand the risk that comes along with locking up a starting pitcher into their mid-30s. But that's also the game. You also have to do that. And a complete preclusion from doing that puts you in a position that they're at right now where they need rotation help. There are 2 great free agent pitchers in their 30s who the team is seemingly unwilling to pay. And I get some of that is just general budget stuff, not just a aversion to older pitchers, but it's something they're going to need to do at some point. And yes, I hope, right with you, Brian Bayo becomes that one. But personally, water gun to my head, I would not say that that's really a realistic ceiling for him. I think that his ceiling is a good 2. A great rotation is him slotted in at a 3. And some of that is just his overall ability, but I think more of it is his profile. That top starting pitcher in the best teams is a strikeout guy, and that's not what Brian Bayo is. Brian Bayo is a weak contact guy, he's a ground ball pitcher, and you're the mold right now, the cookie cutter of a starting 1A pitcher, ace, is not that. So I don't think that he fits the profile of it. I don't know if it's hard to guess his ceiling, but I just don't think that's who he is. I think that the Red Sox putting that on him and banking that on him, I think that would be a little irresponsible. But putting him in a situation where he can be a 3, like let's say Giolito was still healthy, right? Let's say Giolito pitched this year. In a rotation where Montgomery, Giolito, Bayo is your 1, 2, 3, I love that. I think that's great. And that's a great place for him to learn and grow and develop and just be around veterans, even if they aren't super similar profiles to him. I think that that's what he needs more than, some financial stability in the short term. You know what I mean? Yeah. But, okay, Joe, you brought up Giolito, and man, of all the things, this man was Mr. Durable, for the White Sox. He has hardly ever had any time off. When every 5th day he's ready, he's going out there. And then all of a sudden, here we are, Red Sox Nation, and he gets hurt. He's out pretty much for the season now. And man, it's not our luck at all, George. So what did you sit there and think when you heard the news, like right away, about the tear?
Who's it for?
Yeah.
I said you, George. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. That caught me by surprise because, as you said, he's been durable as all get out. No arm issues at all. Threw 180-something innings last year. Came out of the blue. Yeah, I mean it was a little shocking. He's never had the history, and it was like, oh wow, all right. And then rest isn't going to cure that. And he has a second opinion tomorrow, so we'll see how soon the surgery is scheduled.
Yeah, Joey.
I'm still in denial about it. I'll tell you that. Just because all of the language that I've seen on it, and I don't take this as any kind of scoop or anything like that. It's not. This is just my brain being poisoned. Because all the language that I've seen has been, he has a likely UCL tear. He may need surgery. It's unclear whether or not he will pitch this year. I need something definitive. He has undergone Tommy John surgery and he will miss the 2024 season. I need to hear that before I have fully grasped that he will not pitch this year. It's hard to reconcile with the baseball gods that this happened because, like you said, he's a guy who prides himself on his ability to post, does it often. And if you listen to any interview with him this whole winter, you have heard him say his goal every season is to pitch 200 innings. He has not accomplished it yet, but it is his goal every year, and he hopes that 2024 is the year he does it. That's all he says. Mm-hmm. It's hard, and if he was going through no issues at all coming here, it's hard for me to not think that coming into a organization that is priding themselves as this new pitching lab where they are rehabbing guys and fixing guys stuff, with Breslow at the helm and, Bailey in the pitching staff now. And they're reworking a guy who had a lot of homer issues last year. It's hard not to think that in tinkering with his mechanics and in tinkering with his delivery and his grips and all that stuff that they're working on him with led to something happening. And that's not to point blame at anybody. That's just to say that is a risk. When you pull guys in and you want to be the place that can fix these guys, messing with mechanics, changing the way the guys have done things for a long time, this is a possibility of things that can happen. And it's something, I guess, that's, if you want to be super optimistic, it's good that they found this kind of thing early and that they realized that maybe overcorrecting can be an issue, or this is completely unrelated. It's a freak accident. It's one pitch, that delivery, not, a million factors can play in. One singular pitch can lead to a UCL tear. It's not, a stress thing or a strain thing, a long-term thing. It can just be as simple as one pitch. So, but if I had to put money on it, I would say it's not. I would say it's hard for me to believe that it's entirely unrelated to coming into a system that is trying to fix guys.
Yeah, and Joey, you bring that up, and we have our first comment. High on Life says it's that Bailey body combo. Prioritizing velocity only leads to more injuries. He says Tanner Houck is next.
Sure hope not.
I hope not too, because we can't afford another starting pitcher to go down in our extremely, extremely deep starting pitching for the Boston Red Sox.
So, it's insane how whenever I'm trying not to get worked up about this. Don't get worked up about it. Craig's new and we're giving him a little bit of a leash. But every time I hear Craig talk, he says we view our pitching depth as a strength. He always says, like, well, this is a strength, that's a strength, our depth in starting pitching. And it's like, what depth are you talking about? Guys that can physically throw 100 pitches? Like, in one breath saying you have starting pitching depth, and then in the very next saying Cooper Criswell could be a starting pitcher in your rotation, they're completely antithetical thoughts. It doesn't make any sense to me. That is not starting pitching depth. That is pushing guys who are not starters to be starters because your ownership group will not spend the money on getting an established starter.
It completely looks like 2020 roster put together all over again for our starting pitchers when we had Ryan Weber in there, and it was, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. You can't run that back.
No, we can't. So let's sit there and talk now. Who's the next man up in the starting pitching depth? Now, we're going to sit there and talk about who's on the roster, who they could call up for the minors, and we're going to also talk a little bit about who's out there available. And we all know Snell's out there, Montgomery's out there, but there's couple other pitchers that we could bring in that could help us out a little bit. So George, let's start with you. Name a few pitchers that you really think that could, we could sign, bring up, that could actually help us in the starting pitching depth.
Well, look, we already know they're not going to empty the bank on anybody. Okay, they've demonstrated that so far. They're not going to stray from that. The two guys I think that they're going to go that would be possible, and one I've been on for a while is Lorenzen, and the second guy is Clevenger. Okay, they're basically the same pitcher. Clevenger's 2 years older. All right, they have the ability of going deep. Lorenzen's done it. He's been more of a long reliever and specialist on and off, but last year went back to being a starter and was reasonably effective. They're both not going to cost you more than $10 million. Okay, and in a budget conscious environment, that's probably the way that they'll want to go. I mean, then as you look down the possibilities, I mean, the guy with the most talent still available is a guy like Julio Urias, but this club is going to stay as far away from that, given the domestic violence stuff that went on out in LA. They're going to stay about 1 million miles away from that. Then you got guys like Zach Greinke, Baumgartner, that's just throwing up something against the wall. It's, and see what sticks. So we'll see what happens there.
Okay, Joey, who would you sit there and say that, we could get?
I mean, there's the obvious answer is Jordan Montgomery. It makes too much sense. I'm so tired of saying it, but I'm also tired of hearing it. You see these guys, these national reporters go on MLB Network. Now I say the same thing. They're talking Snell and Montgomery. And for me, I'm always like, what could you possibly still have to say about Blake Snell and Jordan Montgomery? And it's always the same thing. It's their deals could look a little different now. No kidding. And then Jordan Montgomery it makes too much sense for him to land in Boston. Yep, we all know. We're all waiting for it. I don't think it happens. There was a window there where I thought it's getting more likely. But now with certain things, I mean the report that came out that. Not even the report. It just came from Sam Kennedy's mouth himself. I forgot that he had the gall to just say this to our faces, that they will have a lower budget this year than last year. After extending Bayo, there's not much wiggle room. If you're lower than last year, there's no room to sign Montgomery right now. You would have to trade somebody like Kenley, who is dealing with something. So how are you going to do that? That doesn't make a whole bunch of sense to me. I don't know who else you could really. There's nobody else who really fits that profile of being a guy who could free up some money for you. So I don't think that Montgomery is realistic anymore. I mean, I think if I had to guess, the rotation is really going to be Bayo, Pivetta, Crawford, Houck, Whitlock. I think that's just what it's going to be. And if one of them goes down, somebody comes up, and because I don't think there's anybody else in that bullpen who you can task with stretching out to be a starter, at least not that I'm aware of. If Cooper Criswell starts to become that guy, that's crazy. People talk about Brian Mata. It's a whole bunch of we'll sees. I hate to say it. It's a whole bunch of we'll sees. And that was the same story with the rotation last year. It doesn't seem like it's going to be any different. They've given us no reason to think that there's any confident plan in place. It seems a lot like throwing stuff together. So until they show that they've got something in place, it's hard for me to believe that they do.
Well, do you guys sit there and think that maybe they could stretch out Winkowski at all? There was talks where they were thinking about it. I thought for sure that he would be like, okay, he might start the season in AAA, see if they can stretch him out. And maybe come up May sometime. Do you think that he could be a feasible pitcher for us?
Yeah, I mean that's the guy. That would be the guy that I forgot. Is Winkowski. He had flashes of being a decent starting pitcher. If you want me to get any ounce of excited about like Winkowski could really, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
There's no part of me here that's going to be like, Winkowski could shock people. He did that already. Does he do that again? No, he doesn't do that again. It's going to be a rotation that's haphazardly thrown together. I think that this team is going to have to rely on a lot of things going right, which I hate that I have to say that again this year. But most of that going right is going to have to be from the offense all overperforming.
Last year was the exception for him. I mean, up until that time, he had been, except for one or two occasions in his minor league career, always a starter. Well, last year he flipped that. He had 61 appearances and only one start and everything else out of the bullpen. And does he have the ability to be a starter? Yes, but he's a 5 or an emergency throw-in unless he suddenly finds himself, in which case he becomes a low 4 or 5. But yeah, I mean, if he turns into a starter, great. But he's the next guy up in my opinion because he has the history of doing it.
Yeah, the only other option that we really have would be via trade. And, you have Luzardo out there, you have Dylan Cease, and I'm really kind of hoping, like we all know we're not going to be trading Anthony, Meyer, or Teal. But I was kind of hoping like Dahlbeck might, have a hot spring training. Miguel Bleis might have a hot spring training to where they would be willing to, catch some trade buzz to trade for maybe a Dylan Cease or a Luzardo, because George and I talked about this a lot, Joey. I really think that Bobby Dahlbeck needs a change of scenery. I think he deserves, major league time. And I just think that the city of Boston might not be that spot for him. I always loved for him to go down to Miami, and I think he might do really well down there, But what are your guys' thoughts on a possible could we trade for somebody without giving up one of those big three?
I mean, if Bob was going to be traded, he would have been traded by now. I think Bob is shocked that he's here. I mean, I don't think that he said it. He got to spring and pretty much said, like, yeah, I'm still here. I'm just as shocked as you are. But alas, I am still here. I thought, if there was ever a window for Bob, it would be being on the opening day roster this year, being moved at this deadline for something, probably prospects, and probably in a package. And that's if Bob had, a good year. Signing someone like CJ Cron, I think, is borderline insulting to Bobby Dahlbeck. Because I mean, what are you doing with Bob? He's shown that he had these flashes, and I understand that I'm a bit of a Bobby Dahlbeck stan, and that my word maybe isn't the most unbiased, but just letting him rot in Worcester and letting any chance of a major league career just vanish is almost rude. I think he should be traded for his own good. He should be, or given a shot. But I don't think that there's any real window for him here. He's not going to be your second baseman. I get that he's versatile. He could be that utility guy that they plug in here and there. He's certainly not going to be your everyday first baseman. You have one of those for the foreseeable future. So there's just not a window for him. I think he knew that all along, with Tristan right behind him. And I think he really expected to be gone by now.
George?
Yeah, I mean, he had his season in 21. But yeah, they are letting him rot. You're right, Joey. I mean, it is a shame. I mean, send him to a place like Miami. Heck, let him play in Oakland. Okay, he just needs to play, and he does have some versatility. He can play both corners, and he actually demonstrated he was a decent outfielder too. So there's value for guys that are willing to stick around. But yeah, the Red Sox, they need to do right by him. And Ritt and I have been saying this for a while. He do the guy a favor, send him someplace else. So
yeah. I don't think it's going to happen between now and opening day. I'll say that. I don't think that he's just magically they find a trade partner. I think if they were going to do that, it would have happened already. So I think it's going to be he's going to be here, and who knows to what extent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Next up, let's talk about Red Sox Nation hitting the panic button anytime someone's scratched from the lineup. Tyler O'Neill doesn't make the DR trip. Oh, bad trade. Here we go again. He's injured. He's scheduled to come back Monday. Like, dude.
Yeah, but can you blame them? I mean, the amount of PTSD that this fan base has right now, I don't blame them. Like, I'm guilty of it myself. I was like, that IL opening day is going to be mighty crowded. And is that an overreaction? Yeah. But do I believe in any kind of positive energy or fate or baseball god that's helping us out in any way? Absolutely not. Things are going terribly, and they've been going terribly for years. So, of course, the guy that you trade for, the few additions that you make, Tyler O'Neill, Vaughn Grissom, and then Kenley, you're going to trade him? No, you're not. He's hurt. It just makes too much sense to just keep wallowing in the negative. And there just hasn't been something big enough, a big enough splash to lean on for fans to say, like, yes, these bad things are happening, but hey, at least Monty's at the top of the rotation. There just isn't that. Hey, at least we got Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Like, there's none of that. There's nothing to lean on. So when everything is in a holding pattern, and the only thing you can really say optimistically, if you're the most optimistic Red Sox fan there is, the most optimistic thing you can say is everything has to go right. Everyone has to stay healthy. And before the season starts, just see, like, this guy's not going to be ready for opening day. This guy's going to miss the season. This guy hasn't started throwing yet. And then add on top of that, this guy's not making this trip. This guy's going to sit for a day or two. It's hard not to lump them all together and be like, everybody's hurt. We're not going to field the team this year. So I get it. I get it. And will Trevor Story probably be fine? Will Tyler O'Neill probably be fine? Probably. But wallowing in it is just too easy. It's right there. And things are bad.
Yeah, the one person I was worried about was Martin. Two pitches, in the warm-up, and then bam, they pulled him and took him right to get looked at.
And then things spun out of control. You thought they reported a mass casualty event,
Yeah. Hey, but overall, at least we are going to have, according to all the rumors and the pictures, Heinz ketchup on your $15 hot dogs at Fenway Park.
Hell yeah.
So, well, guys, let's switch gears a little bit and let's go to one of our favorite things to play a little fair or foul. Now, Joey, I'm not sure if you have played this with us before on here.
I remember this. Yeah, I remember this. Yeah, me and my friends play a similar version. Yeah, we'll say if something floats or not. But yeah, if it's fair, it floats. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So let's start it off hot. Rafaela will not be on our opening day roster. Cedane Rafaela will not be on our opening day roster. Let's start with you, George. What are you thinking?
Oh, foul. I think he's done everything he possibly can right, and I see him on the opening day roster.
Okay, Joey?
I'm going to say it's fair, just because the team's in the position that they're in a long-term look, and I believe the date is May 16th, right, that they can retain a year of control. I think he has shown that he's capable of being on a major league roster. I absolutely think that he should be. But if I had to bet on what this team will do, I would probably say that they are more interested in maintaining that year of control. And I don't necessarily think that's the wrong route either. Just to, solidify him as part of that upcoming core. I don't hate the move. Obviously, I want to see fun, exciting baseball, and he is a fun, exciting baseball player. I would love to see him on the opening day roster, but if I had to bet, I would say that he's not.
I will also say fair. I don't think he will be on the opening day roster, even though we need his bat, his right-handed bat. You don't need to have him high. in the batting order. We can keep him, down in the 6, 7, 8 spot, maybe closer down there. But our outfield is kind of, as long as Tyler O'Neill is healthy and for opening day, we got him, we got Rev Snyder, we got Jaron Duran, we got Abreu. There's really no exciting need to have him up there, and that extra year of control for the Red Sox might, be a benefit for him. So I think that he will be down there until, May 17th, when, miraculously her get called up and, maybe spark some fire under the Red Sox a little bit. So that's where I'm at with that one. Let's go to Bobby Dahlbeck. Will spend the entire year in AAA. The entire year in AAA. No call up. So let's start with you, George.
Fair.
Man, George, you're like disappointed when you said that. You're like,
I would love to see him, as I just said, go play someplace else to play. But if you imagine Boston's system, he's buried. So,
okay, Joey.
I think it's foul because I think that he has a better shot than CJ Cron. I think he's going to play a good number of major league games, to be honest with you. And I don't think it's going to be what's best for him. I don't think he's going to be used on like a regular basis. I think he's going to be pulled in and out. So I don't think that you're going to maybe get the best out of him that you could. But believe it or not, Bobby Dahlbeck has 2 more option years left. So as crazy as that is, he can just go up and down this year and next. I don't know how that's possible, but it is. So because they have that, and because they need a right-handed bat, and because they just need somebody with major league experience, and they need somebody who's defensively versatile, I think Bobby gets his share up here. But again, he's just going to be kind of at the will of the winds.
I really, really hope, Joey, you're right, because I don't think moving somebody like Reyes around the infield, trying to get him to play first, third, we need you to play second also, I don't think that's going to be the answer for him. I would rather feel much more comfortable with, Bobby over there, Throbby D, as Jared and Steve, and I still love that nickname, gave him. And I would rather have him over at first base backing up Tristan than, a Reyes. But he won't spend the entire year in AAA. I will sit there and say foul, because I think by the trade deadline, he's packaged with somebody to be gone somewhere else, whether it be a Kenley Jansen or, another bullpen piece, maybe a Martin, that are on the last years of their contract. So I will also say foul, and, he won't be spending it because he won't be part of the roster for the full year. So next up, little different. The Woo Sox will win the championship this year for them. The Woo Sox will win their championship. Greenville won it last year in our farm system. So I'm going to stay with the upcoming, paralysis of all the talent that's going to be shipping up to AAA. So, George, what are you thinking?
Foul. I don't see it. I know some of your top talent will eventually be there. I don't think it's, I just don't see it happening this year. So.
Okay. Joey?
I don't know, and I don't care. It doesn't matter. I don't care at all. Everybody's starting in Portland too. So I mean, like your big guys are in Portland, and also I mean I don't know the AAA landscape, the ever evolving AAA landscape. I don't know what it's like out there. And also I mean the Red Sox farm system in terms of pitching is what it is. I mean, it also just doesn't matter. I couldn't care at all. Every AAA, AA, single A, Florida Gulf Coast League teams could all win. There wouldn't be a parade. So I'm not going to pretend like I know AAA well enough to be like, oh yeah, I really like them against, the Plainville Marauders. Like I don't know the AAA landscape. And anybody who is excited, anyone who's like, hell yeah, this is the Woo Sox year, take a long look in the mirror, because like, what are we doing here? We can't be getting stoked about that. The answer is I don't know.
Yeah, I get it, Joey, and I'm going to go around and say foul, just because for a AAA team it's hard to you have call ups, call downs all the time, and with our starting pitching, I think we're going to be tearing apart their rotation at will throughout the season, and it's going to be hard for them to do absolutely anything. So next up, the Red Sox will have a top 10 offense again this season. Top 10 offense. So George, let's start with you. Fair or foul?
I don't see them being top 10. They lost too much production in Turner and Duvall to go deep. So I say foul.
Okay. Joey?
I'll go fair. Just because, top 10 sounds so grand, but you're basically talking, you're talking a top third, of Major League Baseball. So, I don't think that's that hard. I think Devers is in his prime, is set to take another step forward. Yoshida is primed to take another step forward after a full year of Major League Baseball. Andy's going to be off his feet a bit. Cassis, I would expect a monster year from. Tyler O'Neill, if he stays healthy, should be somebody who can fill that void that Turner and Duvall left. I think that it should be a good offense. Honestly, I think this lineup is not bad at all. And it's hard to say that right now because, God forbid you say something positive about the Boston Red Sox right now. I totally get it. But I think the lineup is not the problem at all. I think that they will be a top 10 offense in just about every category. I think the starting pitching and then the diminished sorry, my mom just texted me. She's watching. She's mad that I'm vaping on the live show. Gave me a giggle there. Sorry, Mom. I think the diminished bullpen that comes from a diminished rotation, those will be bottom 10. But there's no reason for me to believe that the offense can't be a top 10 offense in baseball.
Yeah, I'm right with you on that. I think that it's fair. I think they can be. I think the only Duvall, his numbers not being there, they can make up for that. I think Turner might be the bigger one that they lose overall, but I think Casas is going to have a better year. Because he wasn't really doing what he should have, the first 2 months of the year. But if we can get the second half after those first 2 months out of him and go a little further, I think he can sit there and help us out. Devers, I already said Devers was my pick for. I just really hope I don't, come back and haunt me. But I said Devers was going to be the AL MVP. I said Devers is going to put it all together. Story's going to sit there and help him out a little bit on defense to not get those errors that he, gets into. So I think overall, I think that they could take a step forward this year over last year.
Devers, when you look at Devers' contract, you would hope that there is like an MVP caliber season. Maybe not just an MVP winning season, but an MVP caliber where he's, top 5 in voting. Like that contract is for somebody who does finish that high in the MVP race. So this year is as good as any. I'd rather have it be, or I think it's more likely that it comes now than it does, near the tail end of that contract. And Story, I forgot about Story when we were talking about the offense, but this should be a great year for Story. This is his first fully normal spring training. He was saying that, this year in Fort Myers, he was saying that it felt like his first spring training, showing up fully healthy, having a full spring training, a regular, whatever, no position debacle. He is the shortstop. He is healed up, ready to go. He should also take a big step forward. And I think it's time for him too. I think fans are going to get a little antsy if he doesn't.
Yeah, looking at his home runs he had, opposite, field home runs. I think the one was on an 0-2 count. He started. He went 10 pitch at bat. Like, that's not normal Devers, where he's getting in his head. He's psyching himself out during the bat. He was a little bit more patient this spring, and that's something that kind of excites me a little bit with Devers, because if he can become more patient and he can frustrate the pitcher more instead of getting frustrated himself, he becomes more dangerous. Now, if they would sit there and move him from the 2 spot maybe to 3, and maybe have 2 people on first and second or first and third, that would give him a lot more RBIs. It'd give him a lot more, potential for an MVP caliber season. So I really like what I'm seeing so far with Devers this spring overall. So last but not least, for fair or foul, and this was just one I wanted to throw in there because a lot of fans are looking more excited to the future than the present of the Red Sox. Fair or foul, the spring training breakout game will be more excited for Red Sox fans than the All-Star game. So, George?
I'll go fair. It's a chance to see some of your better prospects, see what they do. For people who don't get a chance to see them play, I'm fortunate enough I can be to Portland in a half an hour, so I get to see, quite a few games up here. But, I think it'll be, I think there's some interest there to see, what the farm system's all about.
Joey?
Yeah, sure. I'll say fair, just because it's your team, versus the one representative that the Red Sox are de facto going to have in the All-Star game. So I think that's kind of by design more exciting when it's your team, and that so much of the focus of the Red Sox right now is on the future and is on the farm system. So it just kind of does make it does make more sense that fans would be more excited about it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say also fair. I still it doesn't bother me, but it kind of irritates me a little bit that Kenley was the only representative last year for us. Like, really, over numerous others, that could have. I just didn't get it. So, but guys, man, we're gonna wrap up this episode. We're gonna go for some final thoughts. George, any final thoughts for you?
Like I said, I'm happy that they did something with Bayo. That was good news. The Dominican series thing with the Blue Jays was a good PR thing for them. I think it's nice that they go down there. That's where a lot of your future stars are coming from. I think it's good that Major League Baseball recognizes that, and probably I think it's something they should do on a more frequent basis. But yeah, so it's that. Let's get the final word out of Second Opinion land on Giolito's elbow, and it's the meat of spring training now, and see who does what, and if the Sox actually do anything. So that's about all I got.
Joey, any final thoughts? And you can tell everybody where they can meet you at.
Yeah. Final thoughts, kind of just go Sox. The Sox are starting up soon, so go Sox. I like the Sox this year. They could win it all. So put your life savings, take out a second mortgage. Don't actually do that. It should be an interesting year. And I think that offensively this team is going to be really exciting. And I think it's going to be a real balancing act if they can make up for the pitching staff. And the other half of what you said, if you want to find me, I'm on Twitter at Joey Capponi and at ITM_pod. There's some news coming in the next week or so that people should stay on the lookout for. So some announcements coming over there if you are an ITM fan.
I don't know about you, George, but I definitely am.
Yep.
I followed Steve from way back from the Section 10 days, so I sit there and love me some Steve Peralt. So, but guys, sit there and check us out over on YouTube at BSEN_617. Also, you can find us at iTunes, Spotify, and of course, if you want some merchandise, bam, the QR code is right above Joey. You can get a great shirt, Hulkamania, Running Wild. We also got the DWO, the Devers World Order, Red Sox for Life. We got, numerous other shirts and stuff. So check them out. Order yours today. But for George, for Joey, and for myself, thanks for checking out the Pesky Podcast.